As I said in an earlier video, I can't possibly show you every single thing that you can do in Bootstrap in this series of videos that we're doing right now. So I want to go through a couple things, without actually doing some code examples, because Bootstrap does a really good job of giving us code examples right in their documentation. So the last video I did was on images. We're going to look at tables now. We're going to continue in this content section. So there's built-in classes for formatting your tables in Bootstrap. Tables are used all over the place, so they can't default make everything have table formatting that they want. So it's an option or an opt-in set of formatting codes that you can use. So a table by default doesn't get all of Bootstrap's table formatting, because they wouldn't want to mess up things like calendars and date pickers that you might be using from other packages and things like that. So in order to use table formatting, you have to opt in, meaning for any table tag that you use, you have to apply the class table if you want to opt into using the table formatting that's built in. So that basically means when you do the table tag, you need to include class equals table along with it. So let's take a look here. Here's our table tag to start our table. Okay. But they also applied class equals table, and that opts us in to using the table formatting that's built in. Now we can add other table classes on this as well for some of the other things we want to do, and we'll see examples of that below. So they give you code for a simple table right here with columns and rows, and you can go through that code and look at it. If you understand tables, it shouldn't be too hard to understand. Let's look at this variant down here. Oh, well, let's talk about this. Colors. There are a lot of colors built into Bootstrap. And you start with our default colors, and you don't need to do anything to apply a default color. But they always have, and it's not, this isn't just in tables, primary, secondary, success. Notice success is green. It's usually some form of green. Danger is usually some form of red. Warning is usually some form of yellow. And info is usually some form of blue. But later on, we're going to learn about applying style packages from other people make for us, so that we can apply a whole set of formatting created by somebody else, because we're not all designers. And every one of them will have colors set for the primary, secondary, success, danger, warning. So you can see for this table, they made the class of table primary. They made a class of table secondary. They made a table with table success. That one is the one that came out green. Table danger came out red. Table warning came out. So anytime you see these words, primary, secondary, success, whether it's with a table or with some other element, know that those are built into the theme that you may be applying to your website. And the theme can change what primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, light, and dark. The theme can change those colors to fit in with whatever the overall theme is, and they get applied just about everywhere. Striped rows, they have a class called .table striped to add zebra striping to any row. So here's a little table. Table class equals table. That applies to the table class, and then we apply the table striped class. And they show us examples here on how to get that gives us the stripes here. The table, this one down here, we applied table because that's the default that we have to. And table dark gives us the dark colored table, and then table striped gives us the stripes on our rows. Very, very convenient. Hoverable rows, we can use a .table hover when we apply that class, and we get rows that let us hover and highlight the table we're looking at. That's especially good when you get a small font and you get a lot of different columns. It helps keep your eye focused when people are trying to read a lot of tabular data. So anything you want to know about tables is in this content section on tables. And it's really just the HTML you always knew with some different classes applied to it. Figures are basically images with captions. That's the best way to think of it. So I have a beginning of a figure. I have a slash figure. Inside a figure, for it to validate, you're going to need an image source and you're going to need a fig caption. Okay, so this is a fig caption. They applied a class called figure caption to it, and it becomes the caption for the image that's right above it. So if you put a figure and you only put an image and you don't put a caption, your code probably won't validate. And that's normal HTML. We haven't really talked about figure in our normal HTML course, but they also have the classes built in. Figure image class, a figure caption class. Here you see the image fluid that we talked about earlier, and you also see a rounded to create this image up here. And they're creating a blank image just for the examples. So figures are kind of cool. Because a lot of times we have an image and we just want a caption to go with it. Same thing goes for forms. All the things we just learned about forms. They have classes built in for doing our forms. And I'm not going to go through everything, but you can come and look at it. When we have labels, we can apply the class form label to those. When we have an input, we can apply the class form control, because an input is a form control. If we have something that we have a div that's just going to have some text on our form, we can apply the class form text. And you can read through those. They have different things for check buttons and radio boxes. Check boxes and radio buttons that you can apply. Ranges, input groups, floating labels, layout for your forms, and validation for your forms. We'll see that a lot more next year in our JavaScript class. In the next video, I am going to go on to this components section and talk about some of the components. We've talked about a lot of layout tools and how to apply a lot of different styles, doing the grid systems. But another big part of Bootstrap, and this is where a lot of the JavaScript comes in, is some of the built-in components that you can use. And you don't have to know JavaScript because you can just apply these components. And we'll see that in the next video.